each and every organization must be honest to itself about the maturity level from digitalization point of view. I think it's a mistake, but most of the organization do not measure themselves. Just start launching the projects, highlighting that we are so digital, but they do not know why they are doing it. So first, you need to measure your own maturity level. From one point of view, it will help you to measure the development later because you will have the foundation to compare with. But on the other hand, really you will be able to focus on the most important topic.
All right, everyone is in for a treat today with László, from like people first to model-based enterprise, and I almost like don't like fast forward to the end, but man, there's some good stuff at the end of this one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I gotta say, this was such a special episode for me. I think, a little way into it, I realized this is why I love manufacturing, is talking to people like László, who just are just such deeply decent, good people who are incredibly intelligent and understand how they need to get the data, how it needs to come in. They understand all of the technical architecture that needs to exist, how to get it in, where it needs to go, who it needs to serve, just understands that technical side of it brilliantly, and yet always brings it back down to, it has to enable my people. It has to serve my people. Otherwise, it's all for nothing. And I love that.
There's like a certain comfort that certain leaders have, and László has this, when it's like you're so comfortable with the technology and the fundamentals, and again, teasing at the end, it's like who lives it in his personal life. You'll hear that there's no like rush to jump into the technology. And I also love how folks will hear in the episode, he's just grounded in these people's stories from the beginning, like why he remembers to always have a plan B, plan C, and and he brings it up throughout because it really lives inside of him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I love the most about it is it's just such a wonderful balance of bringing you back to the people and yet still being able to drive it very intentionally and very effectively on delivering solutions, especially now in the age of AI, preparing that foundation inside of his organizations, and yet, like we said, still enabling the humans. It's a brilliant balance. Everybody should be very excited to follow.
It's such a practical and clear view of AI too. That's really cool later. Okay, let's not hold people back. Let's get into it.
All right, let's do it.
We're excited to welcome László Bajai to the podcast today. László is a globally recognized leader in manufacturing modernization and digital transformation. He's currently serving as the Factory Modernization Global Leader at NI, National Instruments. He's shaping how data and AI can elevate global manufacturing systems. With a background that includes leadership roles at Royce Electrical, Siemens, and the Tungsram Group, László has spent more than 20 years bridging the gap between factory floor operations and enterprise-level innovation. From launching engineering automation systems to driving global AI strategies, his journey offers a front-row seat to the evolution of Industry 4.0. In today's conversation, we'll trace his path from early days in design and software to leading digital transformation at scale. We'll also discuss what it really means to modernize a factory today, how to build data-driven cultures, and which technologies he believes will define the future of manufacturing. László, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm super excited. As I told you earlier, it is my first time to have an interview like this, so really happy, and let's start.
We're excited. Great to have you for the first time. So László, you started your career as a transformer designer and a software developer at Siemens. What initially drew you to the intersection of mechanical engineering and informatics? Take us back to those early days.
Very good question. So in the secondary school, I was learning computer science and accounting in the same time. So it's a very weird pairing, but somehow it happened that time in Hungary. And still, till the middle of my secondary school, I was sure if I will be an accountant. Luckily, I changed my mind in the last minute and I went in a completely different direction thanks to one of my teachers. That time I decided, okay, for me, the software development, computer science is much more interesting, and this is the way I want to go. But I already in the secondary school, I felt if just simple being a software developer must be boring. In that case, you always just implement what the others are saying. Instead of that, it's better to have a profession and try to improve it by your knowledge in software development and computer science. That's why I decided, okay, let's go try to be a mechanical engineer. So I learned mechanical engineering and process technician kind of profession. And as a second profession, I kept the software development as well. I think it was a very, very good decision. First of all, I thanks my first position at Siemens for this combination, because they were searching for an engineer with some software development knowledge. And I think after it defined my next 2 decades, which I think a very important part of my life. So that happened, and I think I made a good decision. Still, I believe that you need this to make sure you need to understand what you are developing, what you are automating, what you are digitizing. Just purely without the process and the knowledge of the domain itself, it's not efficient and not that interesting.
I like that a lot. Yeah, you were multidisciplinary from the beginning, and you wanted to be an engineer with expertise in your domain, and then improve it versus just implement from the outside.
So I actually want to jump into that for just a minute. We talked about your experience and with digital transformation. You mentioned your time at Siemens. From there, you transitioned into project management and R&D leadership. Talk to me a little bit about some of the valuable lessons that you learned during that period.
I think as a beginner, project manager and people manager, every day you are facing with some new challenges and for some lessons learned as well. I would highlight 2 ones today. One of them happened at the end of my first large project, 2 months prior to the go live with a 3 years long project. My lead software developer just left the company without any sign in advance. And, it was my first project. I was pretty young, and I was shocked, and I had no idea what to do. And I just stand up and had a walk around the factory. I just walked for 15 minutes and tried to find out what to do. After we went back to the meeting room, I called a meeting with the other guys, and in half an hour, we found 2 options how to solve this problem. Because, the problem was that if we are not finishing the tool in 2 months and we are not going live, all my colleagues losing their incentives. So it was a pressure on us. And but in half an hour, we found a solution, and we found more than one solution for the problem. And finally, we could finish in time. And what was the lessons learned, why I was highlighting this one, because still almost every week it is in my mind. You always have to have a plan B and a plan C. So never start a project with only one options, because especially, it was more than 20 years, but now it's more and more valid. Every day something is changing. So you must be prepared for that one. And the other example, what I brought is more, let's say, human related. So the lessons learned was that it makes sense to spend enough energy on the human side of your colleagues as well, not only on a professional side, because at the end it is a real value and you will feel the benefit. When I was the head of the R&D in this factory, I had a colleague who has some medical problems, very serious ones, and it has an effect on his performance as well. And one day he was just coming to me and he wanted to resign because of this problem. And in that moment, the easiest for me would have been to say, okay, goodbye. Because in case I have the headcount, I can hire a new one. I can blame the one who left. So everything is so easy. But that time I decided, no, let's sit back and talk and find a way how to, let's say, save you and how to bring you back to the team. Why it was super important? Because from that moment, we started to work together to solve the problem, not only with him, but with his family, with his girlfriend. And also we involved some of the core members of my team as well. And finally, in half a year, the problem was solved. And he was back, and he was a very, very valuable person of the team for a long term after. And the team was much more stronger after. So it's created a team bond this half a year. And I still enjoy the benefit of that. Not only in the private life, because I love the company, but still this team is together, and in every year we are meeting and having fun together. So I think these are the 2 ones what I would like to highlight from my last couple of decades.
Yeah, that's striking. Yeah, I was going to say, I bet that had an effect on the rest of the team. You shared that team still gets together. So That's meaningful.
Yeah, once I was highlighting this to one of my colleagues, and they said maybe the only reason of this still living team bond is my cooking knowledge, because they are coming to me every year for a party. But I hope not. I think it's more about the story and all the others what we did together.
That's good too. Yeah, breaking bread together. Yeah, that's meaningful. And we all spend so much time at work. It's a really important part of our life, and so like making it real is something deep. I love those leadership lessons. So I guess transitioning you, László, to systems. So at Siemens, and today we want to kind of build up to where you're driving Industry 4.0 today. But you started driving process improvements, implementing systems internally and externally. I think you implemented SAP as well. What were some of the early challenges you faced as you were starting to digitize engineering workflows?
Very good question. So as I mentioned in the beginning, most of my focus was on the engineering workflows and engineering processes. And what I learned as the biggest challenge in the beginning to convince the engineers if the result of the development will be beneficial for them. So I think in general, humans do not like the changes. No. But engineers are the most special human, I think, from this point of view. They really love to work as they are working. So the first, most important is always to buy them in and convince them that the result is for their interest and make their life easier. Once when we had a huge project to change the complete way of working at our engineering department, around about 30 engineers was working there. It was a 2 years long project, and I was involving at the end several of them for testing, asking their feedbacks, to buy them in, to involve them, to be friends, because in that case it's easier to sell the solution as well. And we were done, and we went live, and we got we had a kind of award ceremony at the end by our CEO. And when we received the gift for the well-performed project, one of these tester guys started to blame the complete solution. You can imagine the situation, how I feel myself. So even buying them in, even working together with them, you can be surprised at the end. So the engineers must be convinced. That's, I think, the first step. And like always, like I highlighted earlier, I think the human factor is the most important. So this is the human part. And the other what I would highlight is let's say, early challenge in case of engineering or any kind of factory process automation or workflow management. There's two aspects. One is the master data. So it doesn't matter what you want to digitize, what doesn't matter what you want to automate or improve. If there are no right master data behind, it will not work. So first you need to be good on data and manual level, after do an automation for that one. And the other one is again about data. I think everything is about data after humans. Is a data migration. So it's relatively easy to introduce a new solution. For example, when you want to improve the product lifecycle management workflows and you're introducing a great new tool, perfectly fit for the new products in the future. But what to do with the last 30 decades? You need to migrate somehow it into the new system. This is always challenging, and it's easy to forget to consider it in the project plan. So it's an early challenge to measure well what the migration will cause as a problem, as a resource and the time as well.
Yeah, I was just reflecting on the arc of your journey so far. It's like in the beginning, you thought about software engineering, but you were like, or software, but you're like, I want to be an engineer with domain knowledge that understands like the why instead of just like the what we're going to build. And then when you were responding about moving into leadership, it was like all about people and helping them with their sick, losing your top engineer, bringing people together. And then I asked you this question about processes, but you answered again, like, I have to help almost like to your former self, like explain to the engineering team, like why we're going to do this, like bring them together. And then you've got your line team, and now you think about master data and the principles. And so that's, I just wanted to highlight that. That's a nice journey.
And I think it would be hard to create a kind of priority list. So they are all the same important. So if you fail any of these ones, you will fail the project.
I love that. I love talking to leaders that have that perspective and they get that. It also makes me understand why they're leaders. So super exciting to hear. Couldn't agree more. László, I want to pivot for just a minute. It's interesting. Want to talk about a little bit of your time at Royce Electrical. And it's funny because, I think for a lot of people outside of manufacturing, you think of Rolls-Royce and you just think of cars. And when we were at Hanover Messe a month or so ago, Rolls-Royce's aerospace, not their aerospace, the aerospace. They had some of their engines on display. It's so impressive. It's just beautiful. It's impressive. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Talk to me about your time at Royce Electrical. How did it start? How did it evolve? And tell us a little bit about what all you were involved with at your time there.
Thanks for that question, because I think my 2 years at Royce Electrical was a very, very interesting and challenging period, and I'm very proud of that 2 years what I spent there. So as you mentioned, so this is the aerospace business, not the car manufacturing, which not belongs to Rolls-Royce anymore. So aerospace, and in the aerospace is focusing on electric propulsion systems. It was a kind of startup in a huge multinational company let's open to this direction as well for the future electric flights. Let's develop engines. For a couple of years, they already made the engineering work developing the engines. And a few years ago, they reached a point that, okay, let's start to produce them. Let's build up a manufacturing organization with all its processes. And my boss, who was hiring me that time, was enough open-minded and clever to know that it's not enough to focus on the technology, but they need to consider in time the digital aspects as well. So that's why he was hiring one who is responsible for the manufacturing digital strategy and the implementation of it, and it was me. We started from zero. That was really nice. So in the same time when we were developing the technology itself, parallel, we were working, okay, great, how the data will flow, how we are connecting the different departments. So starting from supply chain data to engineering, quality, manufacturing, to be able to really track and trace or complete manufacturing and fulfill all the special and high requirements of all the aerospace standards. You can imagine there are a lot, and there are very, very challenging requirements from their side, especially from transparency point of view. So it was really nice. We started here. First, the focus was to see how we can implement a manufacturing execution system or a manufacturing operation management environment, how we will do the scheduling later. But the more challenging part was really how the data will flow from our engineering to our production and back later to help them to improve their product development process itself. So it was the first part of my story there. And from the first moment, I was truly believing there is no digital manufacturing strategy. So there can be only an enterprise level, or let's say business unit level strategy exists, because manufacturing alone cannot be digitized. We are not an island. We are the part of the holistic workflow, starting from the customer to the customer again. So that's why I was really happy that a year later I received the responsibility for the entire business unit from digital strategy point of view. And then we started from zero, and we tried to establish something which is valid and working for the entire business unit. Together with IT, together with all the other departments, we were working on this strategy. And I had some, let's say, buzzword or magic word what I was using during this strategy building is the model-based enterprise. I truly believe in this approach still. However, I never saw it in real. Unfortunately, the story at Royce Electrical finished earlier than we were able to apply it in the daily life. But the philosophy itself is just great. To do everything based on data, from the requirements of the customer, we are the vendors and our supply chain, engineering. Do not create 2D drawings with annotations, but please use data, store everything in databases. And from that moment, you can use it in the manufacturing and quality, and you can easily respond back to your earlier, let's say, workflow steps as well and improve their processes. So that was the story there.
I love that model-based.
Fascinating. Yep.
Model-based enterprise. Yeah. I had there's 2 quotes that I wanted to highlight again. You said manufacturing cannot be digitized alone, and then from like customer to customer, I think you said. That was like across the chain. Maybe a specific story, László. You've led So that time at Royce Electrical was amazing. The period at Siemens, you're at NI now. I guess for many of these places, you've led a variety of digital transformations. Data's played a central role. Could you share an example where harnessing data led to a breakthrough efficiency or decision making, like a specific example that comes to mind?
I have a very good one, I think. But so there are several aspects. I would say I think all the data what you can collect, visualize, process in the data create a lot of value for each and every organization. Just starting from the process time what you can collect or the status of your production lines, it helps you to be more efficient, optimize your schedule by just being transparent to your management. You can accelerate your decisions in any kind of special situation. And we know from the production, each and every day you have several special situations. But I would highlight one interesting, funny story from my past. So it happened in one factory where one very expensive part of the product was, let's say, copper material, which was measured based on kilograms. So it was a weight-based, not piece-based usage of the material. And what we face at each and every cycle count, if there is a huge deviation between the real consumption of the material and the one what we had in the ERP, what was SAP that time. And we started to searching for a solution for this problem. And from digital point of view, what we found as a good opportunity to install smart scales in the production. So for that area where we had this material used, we had 15 different machines, and each of them was fit at the end with a smart scale at the back of the machine where the material was placed. And this smart scale was connected to the MES system, which was a homegrown, own developed MES system as well. And the idea was from that moment, because the problem was that when the operation was done, or MES system reported to the ERP that the operation is done, and the ERP was consumed the theoretical quantity from the bill of materials. Instead of that, from that moment, we were measuring the real consumption, send it back to the ERP, and the real consumption was used instead of the theoretical one. So the assumption was from one day to the other, the inventory differences will disappear and everybody will be so happy. It wasn't the case, unfortunately, but still, I think it's a very good example from different aspects. So first of all, the system itself was working well, and all the data transparency, what we were able to generate with this solution, initiated a lot of discussion between different roles in the organization, from the supply chain, from the engineering, from the production. And we had several meetings where we analyzed the data from the ERP, from the measurements, and we found more and more problems in our processes, in the way how we are doing the inventory taking. Of course, we found problems and mistakes in the measurement as well, because it is very tricky to measure the weight. It's not as simple as it was thought the first time. So why I'm highlighting this, definitely at the end, we were closer and closer to the solution of this inventory problem, which was really a huge challenge, a lot of shortages, a lot of delays to the customers, a lot of financial problems. But why I really like this example is three aspects. So first, the power is the transparent data availability and the good quality transparent data availability. The other one, which I would highlight here, and I think highlighted it earlier, first you have to have good, well-working manual processes. Why your processes are not working well manually, doesn't matter if you digitize them, it will the same quality.
Bad, yeah.
And the third one, which is
bad
more
transparency now.
Yeah. And the third one, which I think more back to the digital aspects, every new technological solution must prove itself first. So it doesn't matter how good it is, the guilty one will be the technology first. So in the first half a year, if there was a problem, a difference, first we had to prove that it was not in the measurement.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so no complaint. It is just a standard behavior. So first, the new thing, but you blame, and it needs time.
That's so common, right? In these digitization projects, everyone says, "Is the measurement right? Is the measurement right?" Really grills into that, and then, but that was a great example. Yeah, you kind of battled through the precision, and I mean inventory precision. That's a classic problem. One of the biggest drivers, being able to manage the materials tightly, and then MES and ERP, smart scale, and integration. Really nice example.
And why to count pieces is relatively easy.
Yeah.
But to measure weight is another story. It's a very challenging technical solution.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I want to go back to something you said just a minute ago when you were talking about that you'd put in the solution and then you measured and it wasn't the thing, you thought it would. You said we thought we'd get all the with the smart scales. You thought it would just come out a certain way and then it doesn't, right? And that's pretty common. I think that we find this a lot, that in the pursuit of anything in research, it's, I think they always say almost never do you discover the thing that you set out to discover. When you do research, almost never do I find the result that I thought that I was going to get, right? And that's okay, because what you just highlighted there was you made a great case for doing that pursuit anyway, making it a data-driven approach, getting that data in to just better enable that pursuit. And I really liked the three things that you said when you said, number one, you have to have transparent data. Number two, you have to have good working manual processes, because anything you digitize, you're just digitizing whatever that process was. So again, when they say garbage in, garbage out, you digitize a garbage process, you're just going to have a digitized garbage process. That's how that works. And then, like you said, every new solution has to prove itself. So thinking about having that as core tenets, and I completely agree with that, thinking about making sure that is in place, and we look at the pace that technology is innovating and accelerating, especially in the age of AI. How do you think about factory modernization today? What are some of the core pillars for achieving it, in addition to some of the three that you just mentioned, with the data, the processes, and the solutions?
Challenging. Most probably I will repeat myself some cases. Sorry for that. But I think one and maybe the most important, let's say, definitely the first pillar, is honesty. So each and every organization must be honest to itself about the maturity level from digitalization point of view. I think it's a mistake, but most of the organization do not measure themselves. Just start launching the projects, highlighting that we are so digital, but they do not know why they are doing it. So first, you need to measure your own maturity level. From one point of view, it will help you to measure the development later, because you will have the foundation to compare with. But on the other hand, really you will be able to focus on the most important topics if you want measured value adding from which aspects. So I think this is very, very important. Usually nowadays, what you can see, if outside to facing to the customers, each and every company is super digital. But I can imagine, if, for example, if you are buying an AI-driven washing machine, still in the production facility, they are using paper to assemble that machine. I have a bet on it. So I think this is one super important, the first pillar. And the second, again, human. So it doesn't matter what you want to digitize. If the colleagues are not with you, it will not work. So first you need to find the way how to buy in, how to involve the different levels. So it's not enough but very important to involve your management level, because it's ensured that it will be the part of the strategy, you will have the budget and so on and so on. But still, if you have all the support from them, if your operators are not with you, the project will fail. I would have plenty of examples, but I don't want to waste your time on it. But definitely the second pillar, still the human factor. You must be focusing a lot on human. The third one, being open and flexible. I think I wouldn't say something new, but I'm old. So when I started to work, maybe it was a bit different. That time, each and every company, like Siemens as well, developed their own solution for each and every problem, because of the market, there was no real digital solutions, or if yes, it was huge ones, not enough flexible, not fit to the problems what we had. So we developed our own homegrown solutions. But nowadays, the world is completely different. There are plenty of professional solutions for one certain problem. And if we are enough open and flexible to searching for them and implement them or let them to be the part of our journey, we can save a lot of time, we can save a lot of cost, and gain a lot of efficiency. The life is changing so fast, technologies are changing so fast. Let's focus on AI. It wasn't here 2 years ago. Now, every day we are talking about AI, and it is not just a buzzword. I truly believe in the power of that one. But still, the big companies are not enough flexible to let AI to come into the daily life of us. And this is definitely a competitive disadvantage in my opinion. So we must be much more flexible because the environment is much more flexible than it was 20 years ago. So we already talked about, I talked about 3 pillars, and none of them was the technology, because I think the technology itself is not that important. It is the smallest problem. I think one of the reasons is what I highlighted earlier, that nowadays there are a lot of specialized, really great companies in technologies. So if you are enough honest to yourself, if you have the right resources from human point of view, and if you are enough open and flexible, the technology will be not a problem. And Jennifer, you asked me not to repeat myself, but I have to highlight again process and data. That's also very
great leaders repeat themselves and they're
Right.
And you
I
said
will never ask you not to repeat that. That's fantastic.
you said the technology is the smallest part, which I also agree with. And you also said that, but it was like companies are at a disadvantage when they can't work together as a team and open themselves up to it. They keep it on the outside. And so it's like the technology is the small part, but the openness and the collaboration to be able to bring it in and use it and adopt it seems like a big part.
Exactly. I fully agree with you. And I wouldn't say the technology is not a challenge, but what I see nowadays, if that the technology challenges are solved by other companies, so we just need to buy them.
Yep.
If you're enough open and flexible.
And maybe build on that idea of teams being open and working together, because that's one thing when you have, one site and one small team. It's another thing when you have multiple sites around the world, people with different cultures, different languages. Like, and in your role as you've grown in leadership, you're in a leadership role across languages and cultures. So how have you thought about stakeholder engagement and change management at the global level instead of just the local level to get people bringing in solutions and collaborating?
Thank you again. Coming back to the people question, I think not highlighted enough time how important to manage the colleagues and the people in the right way.
Yeah.
So yes, the stakeholder management is critical from the beginning of each and every project. I truly agree with that one. And again, from the top management level to the operator level, all of them must be considered. You need to first define well who are the stakeholders. This is a task, but usually we just touch the surface because we are in a hurry. But in the beginning of the project, it makes sense to spend enough time on identifying the right stakeholders. After trying to involve them, convince them about the goal of the project, because each and every of these stakeholders will have different personal goals, different understanding of the goals of the project, different expectations against the project. So it must be all harmonized, and you need to somehow manage their expectations. You must be in a good relation with them, but still highlight and make it understandable for each and every stakeholder if we are representing a holistic and enterprise level goal. So I think it's also very important if you manage your stakeholders to highlight if we will never do a local optimum. We are always focusing on the global solution with serving each and every involved department. So what usually I like to do from, let's say, stakeholder management point of view is, first of all, transparent communication. It's not my favorite part of my job, but I know it's important. So we need to spend enough time and energy to communicate, giving feedback to our colleagues about the progress of the project, the status, and their contribution as well. I really like, and I wouldn't go into the details, but I really like the agile project management approach. And even if you're not going into this 2 weeks kind of sprints, but I think it's very, very good to split your project into small pieces and go live with them, because your stakeholders will feel if there are some results, they can try it and they can give you the feedback as well, and they feel themselves much more bought in and involved in the whole execution of the project. We need to spend enough energy on the trainings. which is also some aspects what we like to not focus so much because it's a lot of time and energy, resources and money. But no, so you need to train your colleagues for the new solutions, because if they understand, they will like it. If they do not understand, they will hate it.
Yeah.
And also, any kind of solution, if it's a software or hardware or workflow automation, if you do something new, you need to ensure if there is a team who will support it after go live. Because most of the cases, what's happening, we are developing a new solution, launch it, and let them there alone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
In half a year, everything will turn back to the Excels, to the emails, and they will hate everything for what you were suffering for a year or two. So I think these are very important aspects to manage your stakeholders. And regarding the aspects of the different geographical locations, I think it's very important to have a local embedded person everywhere who is your person, I would say, who knows very well all the details. So if you are, let's say, in the headquarters, the only one who knows the details about the project and the goals, it will not work. You need somebody there and there who the colleagues can in person go there and ask a question, and he or she will be able to give a serious answer to this question. And Jennifer, just to repeat myself again, always have to have a plan B and C from stakeholder management point of view as well.
Yep, totally agree. It's interesting because, Andrew, I don't know if you're noticing this as we're going through this conversation. I mentioned it earlier. László always brings it back to, you mentioned it, always brings it back to people. And Andrew's heard me say this a million times, internally, externally. Technology is the easy part. Governance is the real challenge. But it's also where the real transformation takes place. When you are making sure that we are always remembering that technology fundamentally exists. The reason it comes about is to enhance human experience. And engineers don't want to just spend hours writing SOPs over and over, redoing the same trainings over and over and over. They want tools. You mentioned, you want to make sure that you have a person, your person, so that they can go in person. That person needs to have the best tools in their hand. We need to enable those people with the best tools. That's why technology exists. And if we do that, then you'll get your people involved. So let me ask one more quick questions, and then I want to switch it over to the format a little bit. We have a few that we want to ask you at the end. Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask this question as we kind of pull out of it. With technologies, we've talked about a bunch of the technologies, digital twins, generative AI that's now come on the scene, edge computing evolving really quickly. What are some of the innovations that you're most excited about? And I say 3 to 5 years, but that feels like light years away in the world of AI. But give it a shot. What are some of the things you're most excited about over the next few years?
Definitely AI. So, of course, I will go into the details just to explain it because it's maybe too general, but I think it is a game changer. What I feel nowadays, as again, repeat myself, I'm enough old to be in that situation that the first time when I had internet access on my own PC, it was when I was at the university. I was sitting in my hostel, in my room, and I started to surf on the internet, and I realized that, okay, but it's no fun. For what to search? So why I'm highlighting this one? That time, first, so I would like to compare the AI, let's say, revolution what we'll have to that time. What was the kind of internet revolution? So first we had to learn how to use the internet in the right way. So first we had to reach that level that the internet really contains that data which helps us in our private and professional life as well. And we learned how to find it, how to process it, how to use it. Now we have exactly the same with AI. The technology is there, better and better, really in every minute, better and better. And we need to learn how to ask the right question, how to process the answers rightly, what we're receiving from AI. So I think this is a great opportunity. For that, we need organizations which are more flexible and let it to happen. And in my opinion, the really advantage is the local AI solutions, not chatbots, but I would like to see enterprise level AI solution which has an access to the entire data of the organization, starting from the machine level in the OT environment up to the ERP, also the business systems level, to SharePoint and everywhere. And you can ask for support. Each and every day I feel the miss of this one when I say, I again need to search here and there. I need to combine. I need to create an Excel presentation, which would be, in the best case, just a simple ask from an AI model, and it would be there. Organization must be much more open to this one. I know there are a lot of data privacy and security aspects and lots, so I do not say it's easy. But if we are talking about the next 3, 4, 5 years, I hope we will be there, because I think it's a huge potential. It's also great to talk to ChatGPT, but if you have your own one, which has an access to the huge data set of each and every organization, this is a gold mine and a real competitive advantage for each and every company. And I'm 100% convinced if that would happen, to introduce a real model-based enterprise would be also much easier.
Yes. That was what was ringing in my head as you were saying that.
Exactly.
End data from machine to ERP SharePoint, and then the ability to put the model in, the true model-based enterprise. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's coming. It's coming.
It is. It is. It is. I think that's why I started that question by saying, what gets you the most excited over the next 3 to 5 years that feels light years away? I agree with Andrew. It's happening very fast.
Okay, László, time for rapid fire questions. Let's dig in a bit here. So first, is there a book, movie, or TV series that inspires you when thinking about the future of manufacturing?
Yes, definitely. Maybe not specifically manufacturing, but definitely the future. And this is the book from Philip K. Dick, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I do not know if you know the book or not. This is the original book, but was used by Ridley Scott for the Blade Runner. So the Blade Runner movie was based on this one. Great. So if you never read it, you must read it, because if you did not read this book, you do not understand the movie at all. And this book was written in 1968. And how Philip was understanding all the deepnesses from professional and philosophical point of view, the challenge it's facing with androids who are the same like we. It's completely, so at least very, very similar to the problems what we starting to face with AI nowadays. So if you read the book, you will learn a lot what will happen in the next couple of years with us.
Very cool. Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. Is that what you said?
Yep.
Okay, good. We've got that.
But if you ask AI, any of them, about what was the original story of Blade Runner,
It'll tell you. Very cool. Very cool. Interesting. Okay, what leader or innovator in technology inspires you the most, and why?
I must admit here something. I was watching some of your earlier podcasts, so I was preparing myself to this question, and I was thinking a lot what to answer, and to be honest, I had no good answer. That's why I thought, let's ask AI. So what I did, I was asking each and every AI model I know about this question, and I was interested about the answer. So let me to explain what happened. I was first asking Grok about this question. What a surprise! The answer was Elon Musk. The second one was Mistral, which is a European AI model, and Elon Musk. No comment. The third one was Copilot. I don't know if you guessed, but Copilot was highlighting the actual CEO of Microsoft as the best one. Again, no comment. The next one was ChatGPT, which much better. So Alan Kay was highlighted by ChatGPT. He founded the object-oriented programming, which I never heard about him. It's my bad, but I think it's a good direction. So that guy made a lot, and the reason why we can talk about all this stuff here started somewhere there. And after, I was asking Gemini, and the answer was Grace Hopper. And here I stopped and deep dived a bit this topic. And I need to highlight one more, a second one, or the last one I was asking. It was DeepSeek, and the answer was Grace Hopper. Compared to Grok and Copilot, I think it's very nice. And so finally, I stayed with Grace Hopper because I think it is just something marvelous. So a lady in this male-driven, male-dominated environment, being a real admiral and computer scientist, making the first high-level programming language COBOL. So the reason why we can work nowadays. It started somewhere there, so great. And what I really love about herself is that it's always done selflessly. So for the future, not for some kind of profit or her own interest, but for the future. And I think, so you were asking about admiration. Admiration is not about professional things. You must consider again the human part. So if I admire somebody, it must be a valuable person as well. So that's why I stayed with Grace Hopper, and sorry for the long answer.
Brilliant.
Fantastic answer.
Yeah, you just raised the bar.
Absolutely. That was wonderful.
And AI competency. Yeah, anyone listening, if you didn't know all the different AI models, now you do.
Yeah.
And AI bias.
Absolutely.
A little crash course in AI bias. So what piece of technology, László, outside of manufacturing, has had the most impact on your life?
So I need to just a bit bring in some personal note. So I'm living in the countryside with my family. I have a wife and 3 daughters, and we live in a farm kind of property on 1 hectare. We have a lot of plants, trees, chickens, dogs, cats. I have 2 horses. So this is my private life, being as close to the nature as possible. And after I'm going to the office and I'm chasing the latest technologies. So I had to bring these 2 lives somehow bridged or closer to each other. And okay, it's not the game changer technology, but what is in my daily life is all this IoT stuff. So my whole 1 hectare is full with sensors. I'm measuring the humidity in my cellar and measuring the temperature in the swimming lake what I built, also the temperature in different places in the yard, because it's a huge one. Automating the cooling and heating system around the house and several other things. Having drone, it's also an interesting technology, I think, just to be able to create videos about the development of the farm itself. So, wow. As I say, not the most impactful technology for the world, but for me, it's a kind of bridge of the 2 worlds in what I'm living in.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. I honestly am not sure how I'm going to ask this next question, because I don't think there is a new knowledge or a skill you don't have, but let's assume there is. And say, if you could instantly acquire a new skill or knowledge area, what would it be?
Definitely there are a lot, and a lot of times I'm thinking I love to work, but if I would not have a job but all the incomes what I need, I would have plenty of things to learn continuously. But what I would highlight here, there are 2 things. As I mentioned, I have 3 daughters. Challenging. So the first knowledge what I would like to have is how to connect with a teenage daughter. This is really something what I really need. But back to the professional things, and again I will repeat myself, I would like to learn how to build local AI solutions. Because I think it's not only for companies but also for a private life. Even just knowing my own information what I have storing on drive, my local several hard drives, and here and there, no chance to find, no chance to process the data. So this would be the knowledge what I would like to have soon.
I won't quote Gandhi here, but you like live the change you're trying to create. I love that. You've got like IoT in your yard and you're like, yeah, now I want to do the AI data connectivity in your own life. So László, we could talk so long. This has been amazing. But I guess in a few words, some of the people that watch this show in particular are people who are asking themselves, like, how do I get in the positions that like you're in? How do I do these things? And they're listening with interest. So I guess if you were trying to distill it down, what advice would you give to young manufacturing professionals who are starting out in the field today and figuring out their next steps?
One thing what I would highlight is be open-minded and try new things. So we have no time to wait while somebody else prove if the technology works or not. So if you are young enough, full with energy, try and fail and retry again. I think we really need to be flexible in the actual times. Maybe it's nothing special for the youngsters because they are like this, but for us it is, or for me at least. So be flexible. So I have one sentence what I'd like to highlight. If you are losing flexibility, you're getting old. So and that I try to keep in mind each and every day in my life. Open-minded, try new things, being flexible. On the other hand, don't get stuck on one solution. Again, repeat myself, sorry, Jennifer, always have plan B and C. So if you have a problem to solve, try to start in different directions, not only in one way, because maybe you will fail in that way. So let's start parallel other things as well. Let's see which will work. And the third one, what I would highlight is buzzword, work-life balance. But I think it's a very important one. And not from that aspects that do not overload yourself, blah, 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 blah. But I truly believe, and I really feel it each and every day, that your personal life give you that energy which makes you successful in your professional life.
Yeah.
So they are not working without each other.
Great advice. And people, they don't often think about that. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Well, so it's been totally amazing to have you. Thank you so much for coming.
Phenomenal.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed.
Thank you. We're cheering you on and excited to keep following your career.